Imagine yourself as the central pillar of a structure. If that pillar is crooked, the entire building falters. But if the pillar is strong, straight, and reliable, everything around it aligns. The idea is simple. When you fix yourself, you're not just solving your own problems. You're creating a ripple effect that influences the people around you. When you decide to take personal responsibility for your life, it's not just a personal victory. It's an invitation to others. It's not a loud declaration. It's quiet, steady, and unmistakable. By showing what accountability, discipline, and integrity look like, you hold up a mirror to others. You don't need to lecture or demand. They will see your actions, and those actions will challenge them to examine their own. Why does this happen? Because people notice transformation. They see when someone starts moving differently, more purposefully, more confidently. They observe when someone becomes less reactive and more thoughtful. This change is magnetic. It's not forced. It draws people in. And in a world filled with chaos, a grounded, clear-minded individual is rare. Now, fixing yourself doesn't mean becoming perfect. That's an impossible standard. It means becoming better than you were yesterday. It means confronting the habits that hold you back, the fears that paralyze you, and the resentments that weigh you down. It means understanding that you are the source of your own problems and, simultaneously, your own solutions. But why should anyone else care if you fix yourself? Because people are inspired by courage. Watching someone take on their own chaos and bring order to it reminds others of their own potential. It lights a fire within them, even if they don't realize it immediately. When you improve, the world around you adjusts. Your relationships shift, your conversations deepen, the people in your orbit start to think, if they can do it, maybe I can too. And that's the beauty of it. Change in one person doesn't stay confined. It spreads outward like ripples in water. Fixing yourself is not just a personal endeavor, it's a responsibility. Because every time you take responsibility for your life, you lift a little of the burden from the world. You show others that progress is possible, even in the face of difficulty. And when enough people do that, things change, not because of grand proclamations or sweeping reforms, but because individuals decided to fix what was broken, starting with themselves. Imagine yourself as the central pillar in a grand structure. The weight of everything above and around rests on you. If that pillar is crooked, weakened, or compromised, the entire structure becomes unstable. The cracks that appear won't just affect you. They'll extend outward, impacting everything connected to the foundation. But if the pillar is strong, aligned, and steady, the structure becomes resilient, capable of withstanding pressures and challenges. This is what fixing yourself does, not only to you, but to the world around you. When you take responsibility for yourself, you fortify the foundation of your existence. This is not merely about self-improvement in isolation. It's about the interconnectedness of life. People are not islands. We are deeply tied to our families, communities, and the broader society. When one part of this web falters, the strain is felt elsewhere. Your weaknesses and unresolved issues don't remain contained within you. They seep into your relationships, your work, and your environment. The chaos inside spills into the world outside, but when you confront these issues, you start to bring order, not just to yourself, but to everything your life touches. Fixing yourself means aligning with truth and integrity. It means looking at your own faults, flaws, and failures with unflinching honesty. This process is uncomfortable, even painful, because it requires admitting that the crookedness of the pillar is largely self-inflicted. Perhaps it's the result of neglect, bad habits, or avoiding hard decisions. Perhaps it's the accumulation of unresolved trauma or unexamined beliefs. Whatever the cause, the first step is recognition. The willingness to admit there's a problem is the foundation upon which all progress is built. The process of fixing yourself is transformative, but transformation is not instantaneous. It requires discipline and sustained effort. Imagine a craftsman working on a pillar that has weathered years of storms. They don't fix it with one swift action. They work patiently, stripping away the damage, reinforcing weak spots, and straightening what has bent. Similarly, you must rebuild yourself piece by piece, focusing on the areas that demand the most attention. This could mean developing better habits, cultivating discipline, or learning to communicate more effectively. It might require letting go of anger, resentment, or self-pity. Each act of repair strengthens the pillar, making it more reliable and capable of supporting the structure. As you straighten and strengthen yourself, the effect becomes evident in the world around you. People notice when you stop being reactive and start being thoughtful. They observe when you carry yourself with more confidence and composure. These changes, though subtle at first, send a powerful message. Without even realizing it, you become an anchor for others, a point of stability in their lives. The stronger and more aligned you become, the more others feel they can depend on you, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues. The end of. This doesn't mean you become the sole savior of others, nor should you aspire to that. But it does mean that by fixing yourself, you reduce the unnecessary burdens you place on others. When you're chaotic, unreliable, or emotionally unstable, you unconsciously push that weight onto the people around you. They have to compensate for your shortcomings, often at great cost to themselves. But when you take charge of your life and start putting things in order, you lessen that burden. You free others to focus on their own challenges because they're no longer picking up the slack for yours. You also start letting people go faster and receiving the full rewards of doing so constantly. The beauty of this process is that it's not just practical, it's deeply symbolic. A strong pillar in a structure represents integrity, reliability, and resilience. When others see you striving for those qualities, it inspires them to do the same. They may not say it out loud, but your actions challenge them to consider their own lives and what pillars they've left neglected. In this way, fixing yourself is not an isolated act of self-care. It's a contribution to a larger framework. It's an acknowledgement that your well-being and the well-being of others are inseparable. Through this process, you come to understand a profound truth. The best way to help the world is to start with yourself. By straightening your own pillar, you don't just ensure the stability of your structure, you influence and inspire others to do the same. The transformation is contagious, and the ripple effects are far-reaching. Fix yourself, and the structure of the world around you starts to strengthen in ways you may never fully see, but will always feel. People are far more influenced by what they see than by what they hear. Words can inspire temporarily, but actions demonstrate commitment, consistency, and truth. When you focus on fixing yourself, your transformation becomes a living example that speaks louder than any lecture or advice ever could. The power of influence lies in what you embody, not what you say, and that is why personal change creates an impact that words alone cannot replicate. Imagine someone who constantly talks about discipline, but lives a chaotic life. Their words, no matter how well crafted, will fall flat because the contradiction between their speech and their actions is glaring. On the other hand, think of someone who quietly and diligently works on themselves, building habits that reflect discipline and accountability. Without needing to say a word, their behavior challenges and inspires others to examine their own lives. The difference is authenticity. People respond to authenticity because it carries a weight that words alone cannot. Fixing yourself doesn't mean shouting your accomplishments from the rooftops or making your journey a spectacle. In fact, the most powerful transformations are often quiet and subtle. They don't demand attention, they earn it naturally. When you consistently show up as a more disciplined, compassionate, and reliable version of yourself, people notice. They may not comment on it immediately, but they feel the shift. Your presence alone starts to challenge their assumptions about what's possible. This influence works because it's rooted in human nature. People look to others for cues on how to live, especially in areas where they feel uncertain or stuck. When they see someone making progress, even in small ways, it creates a sense of possibility. They think, if they can overcome that obstacle, maybe I can too. Your actions become a quiet nudge, a reminder that change is within reach. This is especially true in close relationships, where your behavior sets the tone for interactions. If you approach life with more patience, kindness, or determination, it subtly encourages others to mirror those qualities. Another reason action is so impactful is that it demonstrates the power of responsibility. Many people struggle with the idea of taking full ownership of their lives. It's easier to blame circumstances, other people, or external factors for their struggles. But when they see someone else taking responsibility, fixing what's broken in their own life without excuses, it challenges their perspective. It forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth that they too have the power to change, but may be avoiding it. The key to influencing others through action lies in consistency. A single act of self-discipline or kindness may go unnoticed, but a pattern of such behavior creates a lasting impression. Consistency shows that your change isn't superficial or temporary. It's deeply rooted. It's not a phase or a performance. It's who you are becoming. Over time, this consistency builds trust. People start to view you as someone reliable, someone who lives by their values, and someone worth emulating. But this kind of influence is not about control or manipulation. It's not about forcing others to change or even expecting them to. It's about living in a way that invites others to reflect on their own lives. It's about showing through your actions that change is possible, worthwhile, and deeply rewarding. People are drawn to that kind of authenticity because it resonates on a level beyond logic. It touches something emotional and aspirational within them. The most profound changes in others often occur not because someone told them what to do, but because they witnessed what was possible. Your actions create a space for others to consider new possibilities for themselves. It's not coercive, it's inspirational. And that's why fixing yourself is so powerful. It doesn't just improve your life, it quietly, steadily improves the lives of those around you. Through your actions, you become a beacon of what's possible, and that kind of influence doesn't fade. It leaves a mark, not because you demanded change from others, but because you showed them what change looks like. By fixing yourself, you lead by example, and in doing so, you create a ripple effect that words alone could never achieve. In a world that often feels chaotic, uncertain, and fragmented, a grounded, disciplined individual stands out like a lighthouse in the fog. Chaos is everywhere. Stress at work, fractured relationships, societal unrest, and personal struggles create an atmosphere of instability. Most people are caught in this whirlwind, overwhelmed by the demands of daily life and unsure how to find clarity. That's why someone who is centered, calm, and intentional becomes a rare and powerful presence. They don't just stand out, they draw others in. People are naturally drawn to order even if they don't consciously realize it. There's something deeply reassuring about being around someone who has their life in order or is earnestly working toward it. It's not about perfection, but about effort and direction. A disciplined person projects a quiet strength that others instinctively notice. Their actions suggest stability and reliability, qualities that are in high demand but short supply. This influence isn't confined to close relationships. Even strangers can be inspired by what they see. A powerful story of someone overcoming adversity can ripple far beyond its immediate circle, reaching people who might never meet the individual in person. This is why self-improvement and courage are contagious. They create a momentum that spreads, often in ways you can't predict or measure. When you choose to confront your fears and improve yourself, you're not just changing your life, you're challenging others to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible. And that kind of example has a profound and lasting impact. It doesn't require perfection or extraordinary circumstances. It only requires the willingness to try, to fail, and to keep going. And in doing so, you quietly inspire others to begin their own journey of transformation. True leadership doesn't come from authority, titles, or commanding others. It comes from the example you set. When you focus on fixing yourself, you embody the values and principles you wish to see in the world, and that is what inspires people to follow you. Leadership rooted in example is far more powerful and enduring than leadership rooted in control. because it appeals to the deeper instincts of human nature. People are drawn to authenticity, and they are more willing to listen to and learn from someone who leads by doing rather than by dictating. Fixing yourself requires taking responsibility for your life, and that act of responsibility is a fundamental aspect of leadership. Leaders don't blame others or external circumstances for their struggles. They look inward and ask what they can do to improve the situation. When you take ownership of your own growth and behavior, you model what it means to be accountable. This in turn encourages others to adopt the same mindset. It's not about telling people to take responsibility. It's about showing them what responsibility looks like in action. One of the most compelling aspects of leading by example is that it's relatable. Everyone struggles with something, whether it's self-doubt, bad habits, or unfulfilled goals. When you demonstrate that you're willing to confront those struggles and work through them, you become a source of inspiration. People see you not as someone perfect or unreachable, but as someone real, someone who faces challenges and persists anyway. This relatability creates trust, and trust is the cornerstone of effective leadership. Leading by example also has a ripple effect. When you prioritize personal growth, it naturally influences your relationships, your work, and your environment. For instance, if you consistently show up with integrity, keeping your word, staying disciplined, and treating others with respect, it sets a standard. People around you begin to notice and often start mirroring that behavior. They may not even realize it at first, but your actions create an unspoken expectation of accountability and excellence. In many ways, leading by example is about embodying the values you want to promote. If you want people to be disciplined, show discipline in your own life. If you want others to approach problems with creativity and resilience, demonstrate those qualities in how you tackle your own challenges. Leadership isn't about telling people what they should do. It's about showing them what's possible. This is why personal transformation is so impactful, as a tangible demonstration of growth, and it inspires others to believe they can grow too. Another key aspect of leading by example is the humility it requires. Fixing yourself is not a one-time achievement. It's a lifelong process. When you're open about the fact that you're still learning, still growing, and still making mistakes, it humanizes you. It shows others that they don't need to be perfect to start their own journey of self-improvement. This humility fosters a sense of connection and mutual respect, which is crucial for effective leadership. It's also worth noting that leading by example doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. In fact, some of the most impactful leaders are those who admit when they don't know something, but are willing to figure it out. This vulnerability is a form of strength because it shows others that leadership isn't about pretending to be infallible. It's about being willing to learn and adapt. When you model this openness, you create an environment where others feel safe to do the same. The impact of leading by example extends beyond immediate relationships. It can influence entire communities, workplaces, or even broader social networks. When one person chooses to step up and live with integrity, it creates a chain reaction. Others are inspired to reflect on their own lives and consider how they might improve. This kind of influence is subtle but profound. It doesn't rely on force or persuasion. It relies on the quiet power of authenticity and action. Ultimately, leadership is not about exerting control over others. It's about guiding them through your own behavior. When you fix yourself, you become a living example of what's possible. You show that growth is attainable, that challenges can be overcome, and that a better way of living is within reach. People are far more likely to follow someone who walks the path themselves than someone who merely talks about it. By committing to your own growth, you not only transform your own life, but also inspire others to embark on their own journey of self-improvement. Fixing yourself is not just about personal gain. It's about creating a positive ripple effect that influences those around you. Human beings are deeply interconnected, and our actions, no matter how small, have a way of impacting others. When you choose to take responsibility for your life, improve yourself, and cultivate qualities like discipline, kindness, and resilience, you subtly but powerfully shift the dynamics of the environments you're part of. This influence isn't loud or forceful, it's quiet, steady, and profoundly impactful. People are naturally influenced by the energy and behavior of those around them. If you've ever spent time with someone who is consistently negative, unmotivated, or chaotic, you've likely felt how draining it can be. On the other hand, being around someone who exudes calm, positivity, and focus has the opposite effect. It lifts you up. This is the essence of the ripple effect. And so what is our ripple effect? By fixing yourself, you become a source of stability and positivity that radiates outward, subtly encouraging others to improve themselves too. The changes you make in your own life don't exist in isolation. If you become more patient, that patience will influence how you interact with your family, friends, and coworkers. If you commit to being more disciplined, the people around you will see the results of that discipline, whether it's in your health, your work, or your demeanor. And it will challenge them to reflect on their own habits. Your growth becomes a silent yet powerful form of leadership. Without saying a word, you set a standard that others begin to notice and often emulate. What's remarkable about this process is that it doesn't require you to preach or impose your values on anyone. In fact, trying to force others to change is often counterproductive. People resist being told what to do, but they are drawn to examples of what's possible. When they see you making progress, whether it's improving your physical health, managing your emotions more effectively, or achieving personal goals, they're naturally curious. They start to wonder how you did it, and that curiosity can spark a desire for change in their own lives. This ripple effect is especially evident in close relationships. For example, if you're part of a family where stress and conflict are common, your decision to work on your own emotional regulation can have a transformative impact. By responding to tense situations with calm instead of anger, you create a space for more constructive communication. Over time, this shift can influence the dynamics of the entire family. People begin to mirror your calmness, and what was once a source of tension becomes an opportunity for connection. The same principle applies in professional settings. If you're a leader or a team member, your personal growth can elevate the entire group. When you consistently show up prepared, focused, and solution-oriented, it sets a tone. Others notice your work ethic and your attitude, and it often motivates them to step up as well. By fixing yourself, you create an environment where excellence becomes the norm, not the exception. One of the most profound aspects of this ripple effect is that it's not confined to direct interactions. Even people who observe you from a distance can be influenced by your example. Social media is a good example of this. If you share your journey of self-improvement, whether it's a fitness transformation, a creative project, or overcoming a personal challenge, you never know who might be inspired by it. Someone scrolling through their feed might see your progress and think, if they can do it, maybe I can too, right? Your growth becomes a beacon of possibility for others. It's also important to recognize that this ripple effect doesn't require you to have everything figured out. People are often more inspired by those who are still in the process of growing, who are open about their struggles and the effort it takes to overcome them. It's not about presenting a perfect image, but about being authentic. When you share the highs and lows of your journey, it resonates with others because it's real. They see themselves in your struggles and are encouraged by your progress. The possibilities of racism in the United States of America, especially the natural races, this kind of individual becomes magnetic because they embody what so many people crave: peace amidst chaos, clarity amidst confusion, and purpose amidst aimlessness. They don't need to announce their discipline or control over their lives. It's evident in how they carry themselves. Whether it's through their calm demeanor in stressful situations, their consistency in keeping commitments, or the way they handle challenges with grace, their behavior speaks volumes. When people encounter someone like this, it stirs something within them. It forces them to reflect on their own lives and question what they could be doing differently. They might not immediately articulate this feeling, but they sense the contrast between their own chaotic existence and the grounded presence of the other person. That contrast creates a kind of tension, a mix of admiration and discomfort. On one hand, they're inspired by what they see. On the other hand, they're reminded of the areas in their own lives where they're falling short. This dynamic doesn't happen because the disciplined person imposes their values on others. Quite the opposite. It's a silent influence. The power lies in what they represent, not in what they say. For example, a person who consistently shows up to their commitments without excuses, who takes care of their physical and mental health, and who approaches others with kindness and respect, doesn't need to preach about the importance of discipline or self-care. Their life becomes the evidence of those principles. In the chaotic world, people are also looking for trustworthiness. When you're grounded, you become a source of stability for others. They know they can rely on you because your behavior is consistent and predictable in the best way. This reliability builds trust, and trust is the foundation of strong relationships. People feel safe opening up to someone they perceive as balanced and composed, which deepens connections and creates meaningful bonds. This gives greater satisfaction and creates peace and composure, which deepens connections and creates meaningful bonds. Moreover, a grounded person often brings clarity to those around them. When you're not overwhelmed by your own chaos, you can see situations more objectively. You become better at offering advice, solving problems, or simply listening without judgment. This clarity is a rare gift, and people are naturally drawn to it. They want to be around someone who can help them make sense of their own confusion, not by solving their problems for them, but by showing what a life of intention and order looks like. There's also an aspirational quality to someone who is grounded and disciplined. They become a symbol of what's possible, a reminder that chaos doesn't have to define your life. People often feel trapped by their circumstances, believing that their struggles are unique or insurmountable. But when they see someone else navigating life with intention, it creates a sense of possibility. It plants the idea that maybe they too can find a way to bring order to their chaos. Ultimately, being grounded and disciplined isn't just about improving your own life. It's about creating an unspoken invitation for others to do the same. You become an example of what can happen when you choose to confront your own chaos rather than being consumed by it. And in doing so, you provide a sense of hope and direction in a world that desperately needs both. Fixing yourself doesn't mean striving for perfection. It means becoming better than you were yesterday. Perfection is an illusion, a standard so unattainable that chasing it can leave you paralyzed, overwhelmed, or constantly dissatisfied. But self-improvement, that's a path you can walk every single day. It's a process of confronting your flaws, your habits, and your limitations, not with self-loathing, but with a deep sense of responsibility and commitment to growth. The first step is acknowledging the gap between who you are and who you could be. This requires honesty. And honesty isn't always comfortable. It means looking at yourself in the mirror and recognizing that many of the things holding you back are self-inflicted. Maybe it's the habits you know are destructive but keep indulging in. Maybe it's the fears you let dictate your choices. Maybe it's the resentment you've carried for years, poisoning your relationships and outlook on life. These are not external problems. They're internal battles, and fixing yourself starts by confronting them head-on. This process isn't about beating yourself up for your shortcomings. It's about taking responsibility for them. Blaming others or external circumstances might feel easier, but it's a trap. When you place the responsibility elsewhere, you give up your power to change. Taking ownership, on the other hand, puts the control back in your hands. You're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You're an active participant in shaping your life. Fixing yourself also requires discipline, and discipline begins with small, manageable steps. You don't overhaul your entire life overnight. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, you focus on one area at a time. Maybe it's committing to waking up earlier, exercising regularly, or spending less time on distractions. These small acts of discipline might seem insignificant, but they're foundational. They create momentum. Each small victory builds confidence and reinforces the belief that you're capable of change. And here's the beauty of it. As you improve in one area, other areas start to shift as well. Discipline in your health, for example, might spill over into your work habits. Letting go of resentment in one relationship might help you approach other relationships with more patience and understanding. Self-improvement is not compartmentalized. It's interconnected. Progress in one part of your life has a ripple effect on the whole. Fixing yourself also involves facing your fears. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that keeps people stuck. It tells you to stay comfortable, avoid risks, and stick to what you know. But growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens when you challenge yourself to step into the unknown, to take risks, and to confront the things that scare you. This doesn't mean acting recklessly or fearlessly. It means acting courageously, feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. Another critical part of self-improvement is letting go of resentment. Resentment is a heavy burden. It ties you to past pain and keeps you trapped in a cycle of bitterness and blame. Fixing yourself means recognizing that holding on to resentment doesn't punish the person or situation you're resentful about. It punishes you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means freeing yourself from its grip so you can move forward unburdened. Fixing yourself also means cultivating self-awareness. Many people go through life on autopilot, unaware of how their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are shaping their reality. Becoming self-awareness means pausing to reflect. It means asking yourself hard questions. Why do I react this way? What assumptions am I making? What patterns am I repeating? The answers to these questions can be uncomfortable, but they're necessary for growth. Finally, fixing yourself requires patience. Change is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and days when you feel like you're not making progress. But those moments are part of the process. Growth isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, and choosing to keep moving forward. Where to start? How do you fix it? When you commit to fixing yourself, not in the pursuit of perfection, but in the pursuit of progress, you unlock potential you didn't know existed. You become someone who is not defined by their flaws, but by their willingness to confront and improve them. And in doing so, you set an example for others, showing them that self-improvement isn't about becoming perfect, isn't about becoming better, step by step, every single day. Witnessing courage and self-improvement in others is a powerful experience because it resonates on a deep personal level. It's not just inspiring, it's a reminder of the potential that exists within us all. When you see someone actively confronting their struggles and working to improve their life, it forces you to reflect on your own choices. It's not always a comfortable feeling, but it's undeniably motivating. Their actions spark something within you, a realization that change is possible, even if it feels distant or daunting. Courage is magnetic because it represents something universal, the ability to face adversity and move forward despite fear. Most people, at some level, feel trapped by their fears, fear of failure, rejection, judgment, or the unknown. These fears often lead to avoidance, procrastination, or denial. When someone chooses to confront their fears instead of running from them, it challenges others to reconsider their own hesitations. It's not about comparing struggles or achievements, but about seeing what's possible when fear is met with action. This influence doesn't come from grand gestures or public declarations. The most impactful courage is often quiet and personal. It's the person who takes responsibility for their health after years of neglect. It's the individual who decides to repair a broken relationship, even though it means having difficult conversations. It's the worker who takes the leap to pursue a passion they've ignored for years. These small individual acts of bravery resonate with others because they are relatable. They show that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about taking action despite the fear. Self-improvement, too, is deeply inspiring because it demonstrates the transformative power of effort and persistence. Everyone has areas in their life they wish to improve, whether it's their health, relationships, career, or emotional well-being. But making real, lasting change is difficult. It requires discipline, resilience, and the ability to endure setbacks. And you see someone else pushing through these challenges, choosing to rise after every failure. It becomes a testament to the human capacity for growth. This isn't to say that people watch others improve and immediately leap into action themselves. Change doesn't usually work that way. But what witnessing self-improvement does is plant a seed. It introduces a possibility that wasn't fully acknowledged before. It shows that transformation is not reserved for a select few, but is available to anyone willing to put in the work. Over time, this idea takes root, growing into a sense of personal responsibility and a belief in the potential for change. There's also a deeper psychological reason why witnessing courage and self-improvement inspires others. It disrupts the narrative of helplessness. Many people walk through life feeling like victims of their circumstances, believing that their struggles are insurmountable or that their situation is uniquely difficult. But when they see someone else, perhaps someone with similar challenges, making progress, it challenges that belief. It forces them to confront the possibility that their limitations might not be as fixed as they thought. This can be both empowering and unsettling. On one hand, it's liberating to realize that change is possible. On the other hand, it removes the comfort of excuses. If someone else can overcome their struggles, then perhaps the obstacles you've been blaming for your stagnation aren't as immovable as you thought. This realization is often the first step toward meaningful change. What makes this process so powerful is that it's entirely organic. It doesn't require preaching or persuasion. The person working on themselves doesn't need to tell others what to do or how to live. Their actions speak for themselves. By simply living in a way that reflects courage and a commitment to growth, they create an unspoken invitation for others to do the same. It's not about demanding change from others. It's about showing them what change looks like. Finally, the ripple effect extends beyond individuals to influence communities and even cultures. When enough people commit to fixing themselves, it creates a collective shift. Imagine a workplace where multiple employees decide to prioritize personal growth. The entire culture of that workplace can transform from one of stagnation and mediocrity to one of innovation and collaboration. The same is true for families, neighborhoods, and broader social groups. Change starts with the individual, but its impact is far-reaching. By fixing yourself, you not only improve your own life, but also create a ripple effect that touches everyone around you. Your actions become a quiet yet powerful form of inspiration, encouraging others to reflect, grow, and transform. This influence is not forced or intentional. It's a natural consequence of living a life aligned with growth and responsibility. In doing so, you contribute to a larger wave of positive change that extends far beyond your immediate sphere. Fixing yourself is one of the most effective ways to create sustainable and meaningful change in the world because it shifts the focus from controlling external circumstances to mastering internal realities. The temptation to solve problems outside yourself, whether in relationships, communities, or even global issues, is strong. It feels natural to look outward for the root of difficulties and try to impose solutions. But often this approach overlooks the fact that the most profound and lasting changes come from within. By transforming yourself, you set in motion a series of changes that extend far beyond your personal life. This act, at its core, this principle is about alignment. The world is filled with contradictions. People demand honesty while lying to themselves, seek kindness while being harsh to others, or advocate for discipline while failing to cultivate it in their own lives. This disconnect between ideals and actions undermines genuine progress. When you fix yourself, you bridge that gap. You embody the principles you wish to see in the world, and that authenticity carries tremendous power. It's far easier to inspire and influence others when your actions align with your values. Fixing yourself doesn't mean ignoring external problems. It means addressing them in a more grounded and effective way. When people focus solely on external issues, they often act out of frustration, anger, or fear, which can cloud judgment and lead to ineffective or even harmful solutions. On the other hand, when you've done the hard work of improving yourself, you approach challenges with greater clarity, resilience, and wisdom. You're not reacting impulsively or projecting your unresolved issues onto the world. You're responding thoughtfully, based on a foundation of self-awareness and inner strength. This approach also avoids the trap of moral superiority. When people focus on fixing others or the world without addressing their own flaws, they risk falling into a pattern of self-righteousness. They become blind to their own shortcomings, which not only limits their effectiveness but also alienate others. Fixing yourself first ensures that your efforts are rooted in humility. It's the acknowledgement that you, too, are a work in progress, and that understanding fosters empathy. Instead of condemning others for their failures, you're more likely to inspire them by showing what's possible. Another powerful aspect of fixing yourself is the example it sets. People are far more influenced by what they see than by what they're told. When someone witnesses you taking responsibility for your life, overcoming obstacles, and striving to become better, it's a compelling demonstration of what can be achieved. This influence often extends far beyond what you might expect. You may never fully know the impact your actions have on others, but that doesn't make the influence any less real. Quietly working on yourself can inspire others to reflect on their own lives and consider how they too can improve. Fixing yourself also creates a ripple effect that extends to the systems and institutions you interact with. Systems are made up of individuals, and when individuals change, systems change. For example, a person who cultivates emotional intelligence and patience can transform the dynamics of their workplace or family. Over time, this creates a culture of understanding and cooperation that influences everyone involved. The same principle applies on a larger scale. When enough individuals commit to self-improvement, it shifts the broader culture, creating an environment where growth, responsibility, and integrity are valued. This process doesn't happen overnight, and that's why patience is essential. Fixing yourself is a lifelong journey, not a quick fix. The changes you make may seem small at first. Waking up earlier, being kinder in your interactions, or taking better care of your health. But these small, consistent actions accumulate over time, creating a foundation for larger transformations. The patience required to sustain this effort is itself a form of leadership. It demonstrates that real change is worth pursuing, even when the results aren't immediate. Moreover, fixing yourself equips you to contribute to the world in ways that are uniquely meaningful. Each person has strengths, talents, and perspectives that can benefit others. But these qualities often remain untapped when individuals are bogged down by unresolved personal struggles. By addressing your own weaknesses and maximizing your potential, you position yourself to make a more significant impact. Whether it's through your career, relationships, or creative pursuits, the work you do on yourself enhances your ability to serve and uplift others. Fixing yourself also helps to counterbalance the negativity and cynicism that often dominate public discourse. When people see you working on yourself, striving to improve, and maintaining hope in the face of challenges, it serves as a reminder that progress is possible. In a world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed by problems, this kind of example is invaluable. It shifts the focus from despair to action, from blaming others to taking responsibility. Ultimately, fixing yourself is one of the most effective ways to change the world because it creates a ripple effect that influences others, improves systems, and inspires collective progress. It's not about withdrawing from the world or ignoring its problems. It's about understanding that the most powerful way to address those problems is to start with yourself. By becoming a better version of who you are, you not only transform your own life, but also contribute to a better world for everyone around you. In the end, the journey of fixing yourself is not just a personal endeavor. It's a gift to the world. By confronting your own flaws, taking responsibility for your growth, and embodying the values you wish to see, you become a living example of what is possible. Your actions inspire others to reflect, your courage encourages them to act, and your transformation becomes the foundation for collective change. The ripple effect of your effort extends beyond what you can see, creating a legacy of growth and hope. True change starts within, and by fixing yourself, you light the way for others to do the same. In doing so, you not only improve your own life, but also contribute to a better, more empowered world, one individual at a time.